welcome everyone. It is so great to have so many people here already tuning in for this special live stream coming to you live from my house in Australia. Woohoo! Welcome to everyone tuning in from all around the world. We have set this to multiple time zones, so hopefully we've got people here from everywhere. So drop in the chat, tell us where you're from. We'd love to see you, hear you. Volume seems a bit low, does it? Let's pop it up a bit. Let me know if that seems fine. Yes, cool. Also, hello, Ecstatic. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat. Great to see you. And hi, everyone. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Mish Manners, or Mish from the GitHub Developer Relations team. I'm very excited for this awesome stream today. Cool, we got it. We got thumbs up on the volume, so thank you for that. Woohoo! Yay, I'm so excited. It has been a hot minute since we've had something like this, and I'm really excited to be here today. Now, I have a very special guest with me here today. So today, we usually talk about Open Source Fridays, so we talk about some of the cool things people are doing in open source on a Friday. We have our Startup Wednesdays, where we talk to startups about the cool things they are doing. We have some live meetups on here as well, but today is something really special. And today, I have a guest here, so let's bring him up on screen. So welcome, yay, welcome,
Hello.
welcome, Andrzej, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
All right, so here
happy to
we
be here.
have an amazing GitHub star who is also the founder and creator of js13kGames. And today, or this year, we are celebrating the 13th anniversary of this game jam. So, how are you today? And we've got Lee in the chat. Hi, Lee.
Hey, Lee.
So, how are you going? It's your morning, correct?
Yeah, pretty early morning. Yesterday was quite busy from the early morning till late evening, but I think things went well, things went smooth. The Vim announcement went out exactly at 1 p.m. my time. So it was pretty good, and folks already started brainstorming the Vim, so that's cool.
Amazing. Now, you just mentioned the theme. Do we want to talk a little bit more before we jump into the themes? I'm really excited about this year's theme. Let's talk a little bit more about what js13kGames is. So, would you like to give us an overview of what this game competition is all about?
Yes, absolutely. So the competition itself started in 2012, so it's pretty old, I would say. And the main thing is the main task, which is quite a challenge, is to build a web game in 13 kilobytes zipped package. So you have to make a game that is a web game. And the biggest challenge is squeezing it into 13 kilobytes. That's quite difficult, but there are ways to do that. There are people building games for the competition for many years now, so it's definitely possible. And the cool thing about JS13K is that all the source code from all the years of all the entries is on GitHub since the very beginning in 2012. So all the years you can check the games on the competition website, and you can check the sources of every single game on GitHub.
That's pretty cool. And what I like about this, as you mentioned, is we can go back. And just before this stream, I was having a look back at some of the games all the way back to 2012. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool that we've got this amazing directory of so many games, and being able to squish your game into 13 kilobytes or less is a little bit of a feat. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's bring up the screen so we can have a look at the awesome website that you've got here. So this is the js13kGames website, and would you like me to head over to the article where you announce the theme, or
go for it.
all right, so here we go. So this was posted 18 hours ago, so the game jam officially kicked off yesterday. And for all those of you here in Australia, yes, we live in the future, so go us, we have an extra day. So here we go. We've got the theme announcement. And this year's theme is... I'm going to mess up the pronunciation of this so bad, aren't I?
I'd like to hear it.
Okay. Triskaidekaphobia.
Frisky Decaphobia.
There you go. Good pronunciation. Yes, I got it. And also shout out to Sorkut, who's in the chat. Great to see you again. Now, I looked at this last year because I was going through my Twitter at midnight, like I do. And I was like, oh, they've announced the js13kGames theme. And I looked at that, and off the top of my head, I was like, now what is that? The fear of. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, I do remember that. So it is the fear of
the number 13. Yeah, that's
13.
kind of special, and I did that on purpose because of the 13th edition. The competition started with themes like number 13 or bad luck in the first years. And there were different themes over the years, but I thought that the anniversary 13th edition of the competition deserves something special. So the fear of the number 13 sounds like something that will fit perfectly.
Yeah, I was looking this up too, and it is like a legitimate thing. There are lots of buildings that are void of a floor 13 because of this idea of Friday the 13th or something like that. So I'm really excited to see what kind of games people come up with for this year's theme. I'm already thinking like games where you skip level 13 and just get an instant power up or something like that. I'm not too sure yet. I'm not the one coming up with the games, but I'm excited to see what you all come up with. So if we're looking at maybe we're reading this for the first time, maybe we've got some first time viewers, where do you suggest people start? Now, you've already mentioned some people have started brainstorming for this year's games.
Yeah, so usually you should come up with a solid idea, preferably like a list of 20 of those to pick something interesting. Some folks will go for the first idea they have. Others will try to list many of them and see if something they get further down the list will be interesting enough to try. Depends on your approach. Actually, you could go with the first idea, but you can try to think of something original, and then you have to decide if you use any of the micro frameworks, because actually, so everything you squeeze into 13 kilobytes zipped package, you can use, and that would suggest that you have to write everything from scratch, but we actually do have micro game engines which are like 3 or 5 kilobytes zipped, which is impressive on its own. So you can actually look into the engines which will give you basic functionalities. And there are plenty of tutorials on how to use those. So starting from that should be easy enough. And we also mentioned that all the source code of all the entries from previous years is on GitHub. So you can also look up previous entries, how they were created. You can read postmortems of the authors of those games from previous years to see how they build the games. So plenty of opportunities to see how the games were built in the past 13 years.
Now, this is interesting because I'm looking at this going, all right, if I was going to join this game jam and I've written down a bunch of games, the game jam goes for one whole month, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So how do you suggest that participants break up their time in terms of building an entire game over the course of a month? Should they spend lots of time working on the theme? Should they spend lots of time tidying up the game, making sure that the various components work? Should they spend, how much time should they spend on the actual submission? Because you still need to go through and write a submission for this, correct?
Yes. So I mean, you don't need to rush and start developing immediately. This competition specifically runs for a month to give you enough time for everything. So having a couple of days for brainstorming should be perfectly fine. And the key is to have a small scope. Make it simple. The entry have to work. You have to have a working prototype as soon as possible. So after 2 or 3 days of brainstorming, I would suggest building a fun prototype, which don't even need to have any graphics. You have to test that prototype and see if you enjoy playing the game and other people will enjoy the game as well. And I think it's crucial to keep that working build prototype. You can add some features, but if something won't work the way you would like to and the whole projects fall apart, you still have those builds you saved previously. So it's important to iterate over the prototype, and the less features, the better. Of course, if you have enough time at the end, you can add things, but it's usually about removing things than adding things. That is important. And folks learned this in the recent years, that it's better to submit not in the last seconds of the deadline, because if something goes wrong, something goes wrong. So if you submit early, there's still time to test it on the website, to have some fixes, to see if everything works well. If you do that in the exact last seconds, you might get into trouble. So it's better to test that early.
Yeah, definitely a bit like a university assignment. 11:59 it's due, and you see everyone submitting it at 11:55. So don't be one of those people. As you said too, like testing your game, playing it, making sure that's fun as well. Now we'll come to some tips and tricks in a minute, but I did want to show. You mentioned, sorry, both of us. We mentioned the micro games and where to have a look at some of these game engines. So here now, how much time did you spend putting these resources together?
So it wasn't me, it's actually the community effort. It started as a simple page with like 5 links tops, and now it's huge. So we even have a project with the 3 most popular micro engines. It's called js13k breakouts. I think it should be listed here, but yeah, like the resources page is impressive. It lists all the things you can imagine using. And at the bottom, we have the postmortems, so articles, blog posts from authors of the entries. So this is huge. This was this list of resources is being constantly updated since 2014, 15-ish, with the addition of new tools, videos, blog posts, and everything else. So yeah, if you don't know where to go to get some interesting resources, this is definitely the place to go. And you will find more than enough knowledge packed into one place.
There is so much here, and now I'm looking at this going, I need to add mine here as well. I see a couple here from Lee, so shout out to Lee who goes in and writes these on the GitHub blog most years, so that's fantastic. I've done a few live streams as well on some of the games and playing them, usually while I'm judging them. We'll come to that in a minute too, and Lee's popped a couple of links in there as well. This is very comprehensive. As you mentioned, this is community led as well. So if we jump up the top, we can have a look here, and we can look at, this is all the source code, I'm assuming, for this. And we can jump down here, and I believe, is this where we add things if people are wanting to add an update the links?
Yes, you send a pull request with a link to the index file, and that's it.
Perfect. So we've got so much here. If you find something cool while you're working on your game as well and you'd like to add it in, feel free. But as we can see, there are so many ideas here for different types of micro games, engines, and boilerplates to use. This is fantastic, and I believe most of these too are also open source, which is fantastic for the community. Yeah, perfect, awesome. All right, so if say for example, I have never done game dev before, and I come to this, and this list to me is super overwhelming, where would you suggest I start with this?
So I hope you can find it. It's called js13k breakouts. That's a separate repository. I don't think it's listed here.
Okay.
That's a separate repository. So
this one?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, here we go, and I'll pop this link in.
And if you go to the GitHub repository, so basically this little project was about creating a breakout clone using the three most popular micro libraries: LittleJS, GoodLuck, and Contra. Contra, I think, is the oldest, and we had like an asteroids tutorial since like 2015 or something like that, or 16. So it's pretty old. As in, so many games were created with Contra over the years. So this project was about building this breakout clone with those three tools. And the aim was to have this build exactly the same, like the same game demo, for folks to be able to compare if they prefer how they can build this with any of the three engines or /tools/ templates, because GoodLuck is actually a template. And I think it's a good opportunity to see how those three do the basic things, like building a breakout game, because you can find plenty of tutorials how to build a breakout clone in pure JavaScript, and that will usually, if you don't use images, that will surely fit into the 13 kilobyte zipped package. But you can see how those tools add to the experience, how those tools make building that game easier. You can see the source code. You can see how things are built with those tools. So you can actually pick the one that you prefer. The Contra, as I mentioned, is I think is the oldest out of those three. So there are Contra tutorials you can read and build some examples. The most popular tutorial was the asteroids clone, but you can go into the Contras made with Contra on the left, on the Contra website, how many games were built already.
Wow.
So yeah, and
lots of them.
Most of them are also open sourced, so you can check those games and see how Contra helps you build games. And if you're brand new, you can ignore all the micro engines and build games from scratch. There are tutorials to do some simple games. The popular clones like Flappy Bird or whatnot in pure JavaScript, but you can also look into Contra, look into LittleJS, which is also quite interesting, and use that to speed up development and focus on the actual game, not on the rendering, input, and all the things that are needed but are kind of boring.
Yeah, and we've got some people here from the chat too. So we've got Alex from Australia, we've got Ryan from Nebraska, so they're all giving a shout out. Now, the next question I wanted to ask you is we're looking at these things, particularly these Contra templates and other templates. Now, this is a game jam, so how much are you able to, and it's a very open source question as well, so how much are you able to fork, clone, template, and then build on top for this game jam? What are the kind of criteria there for building your own?
So obviously you can just pick an old entry and submit as your own, but we didn't have many cases of like obvious ripoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Folks usually try to be original with their entries, and I don't remember a case where someone was actually trying to steal the source code and use it as their own. I mean, as long as you get inspired, if you pick some things that work for you and you build something new yourself, that's perfectly fine. There are entries which are folks were like, oh, I was heavily inspired by this and that, and you can't even see it clearly because they remixed it so much that they created a brand new game, and it looks awesome. So don't be afraid to look into the sources. Don't be afraid to see what worked for folks in the past, what entries were popular. Of course, don't clone the whole thing and pretend it's yours, but taking inspiration from somewhere is important. You can't build in the void. All the entries that won the competition over the years, folks were like, oh, I like this game and I looked into this game and I took this from that game and that's it. So it's absolutely not original. But then something new is created and it's awesome and people enjoy playing it, and you can't tell this was like copied from some place. So inspiration is kind of important and you should definitely go for it.
Yeah, I love it. And we've got some people in the chat too saying, well, it's actually more likely that a game will get ripped off after the competition than games being ripped off and submitted. So it's fantastic. So many people are making their own games and building their own games. This is awesome to see. I absolutely love it. And I'm so looking forward to all the games that come out this year from everyone. So my next question for you will be, okay, we've talked about some of like the micro games and the templates and where to go and get tools and things and build these games. How hard is it to actually squish something into 13K, like 13 kilobytes? Because what I'm thinking now is like games are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I recently downloaded Age of Empires, but the high definition, and it was like, if you want the 4K rendering pack, which I have a nice monitor and a good GPU, you can download that, but it's 215 gigabytes. And I was like, what? So how are we squishing these games down into 13 kilobytes, and what are some of the tips for minifying these files?
Yeah, so this might seem wild and impossible at the beginning, but it's definitely possible with the proper approach. And proper approach would be, obviously you can't use big images. You can't fit MP3s as sounds into the zip. So most of the entries don't use graphic images, like they focus on procedural generation, because actually, so 13 kilobytes is a zip package, and zip compresses code really well. So you can actually have like 50, 60, or 70 kilobytes of code that does something packed into the zip. So generating your images or generating graphics is usually a way to go. So one thing is procedural generation or generating images themselves, not necessarily using separate PNG or JPEG files to be rendered. Of course, you can use them, and there are entries which are doing that. It's perfectly fine. But if you want to cram more into the zip, it's usually better to create the graphics on your own by code, or you can embed those in the JavaScript code. And then there are so many tools to actually minify the code before it is compressed. We have this wonderful tool called Road Roller. So over the years, people were like, okay, we have a solid way of minifying and compressing the source code. This is the de facto standard. And then someone came and said, hey, this is Road Roller. And it helped folks go down from like 15 kilobytes to 12 kilobytes, and they were still able to add new things. There's this famous Quick game case where the author was like, with Road Roller, I was able to have 2 different levels in my game instead of 1, which was pretty big because on the level they had different weapons, enemies, etc. So it changed a lot. The Road Roller, crunching and compressing the code is super useful. And there are plenty of tools folks use to minify and compress the code. But usually the Road Roller is the ultimate tool used at the very end that gives you that extra few kilobytes.
It's so good to have all these tools available to be able to do so many things now. We don't have to go and figure it all out ourselves, and we've also got some cool AI tools that we can use as well to be like, hey, help me minify my JavaScript and do things like that. So it's great to have all these tools available. So go have a look at some of those. Now, one I did want to call out was somebody who made this Quake style game in 13 kilobytes. This was pretty cool. If anyone didn't see this was very, very recently. So you can definitely make games that are small, that are able to do things. There's always, the Doom. Can it run on a smartwatch? Can we run Doom in a Tesla? Those kind of things. So if you think outside the box and outside the square, I think it's very possible. And as we've kind of mentioned in some previous years too, thinking about what is actually necessary in the game, I think is really important. Like for example, some music and image files can actually take up lots and lots of space. So think about minifying those and work out which things you actually need. And I think that's one of the things I really love about this game jam, is it's not just go out and build your game. It's go out and build your game and think about how you can save resources, think about how you can build something that is super lightweight and basically able to run from almost anything, which is really cool.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting to know that you can play the games on the website, so they will kind of load instantly because it's like 50 kilobytes of code uncompressed. So playing the games on the website, I was recently checking the older entries, and I actually went into 2012 and played the first games, and they worked, which is pretty impressive for like 13 years.
Let's pick one. I wasn't here in 2012, so do you have a favorite game from 2012 that you'd like to?
Yes, Space Pea. This is actually the game that won.
This one, Space Pie?
Yes.
All right. Let's see how we go. All right. So we're gonna play the game.
choose the level, and
there's upgrades available. Wow, they really thought about
yes.
this. I didn't actually
So the
read
thing,
any of the anything, so I have no
so
idea what I'm
you
doing.
draw a line to protect your core.
Oh,
So
right.
yeah,
Right, yeah, I get it. My mouse has
yeah,
actually
it's
been super bad recently too. I really need to upgrade my mouse. So if anyone knows of a really nice pink mouse that you can get, please let me know. Here we go.
so the cool thing is the game works perfectly well after so many years, and so there is a story with this game because it was the first year, and I was going through the entries to accept them. I was just checking if they work. And after playing this game for like an hour, I realized that, well, I should have continue and focus on other games and accept them. I really love this game, and I'm so happy it won. You can also check the winner. It's the exact same winner, Jack, who won the second year with the game Radius Ride.
Now I'm gonna beat this level first, and then we'll go. It's really
Okay.
addictive.
Yeah, and it's so polished. It's like
That's really nice. So this is the
the
thing.
key thing. Like there are levels, upgrades, so many other weapons and things in this game.
Okay, well, I've dropped in the chat if anyone wants to play it as well. So 2013. So which game do we want to look at here?
Radius Raid.
How do I spell
Yeah, this
that?
one.
Yeah, it's right there on my mouse. Radius Raid. Okay, so again.
And again, and you just shoot at things. So it's basically simple, but it gets so interesting with more and more.
It looks really nice.
Yeah, with new weapons, new enemies appearing after some time, of course. So at the beginning,
there's some sound effects, which I
simple.
will, when I finish this level and don't have my mouse being occupied by a game, I will pop some sound on so you can.
You can move around to try to.
Oh, there we go. Oh, oh, really dynamic. Oh, look at this.
And the cool thing about this game and the previous one is that it looked complete. It looked like it didn't care about the size limitation. Someone just built a cool game from the start till the finish, and it was great. And there was no story of like, hey, I didn't do this because I ran out of space or something like that. So those two games won the first and the second competition. They are still awesome. There's a lot of juiciness in the gameplay, and I really love them for the fact of, hey, this is 13 kilobytes, and you can't even tell because it's a finished game. And it feels complete, so it's really great to see such games submitted to the competition that works well after so many years.
I think this is what really impresses me every year as well, is that when we go and have a look at these, as you said, like they haven't skimped on certain things. So this game has great controls, it has, nice interface, it looks polished, there's sound effects, there's music. Like, good on you, Jack, you've done well. So has Jack been entering this competition still, or is Jack just
not recently? He owned the competition for 2 years. I don't think he submitted in the next year, but yeah, I still love those two entries. They are great. They would place high in this year's competitions or recent competitions because of how polished they are and how well they are balanced.
Yeah, we're getting some comments in the chat too, like they're pretty cool. And I'm like, I know, right? Like every time I'm blown away. Now there's one from a couple of years ago. I can't even remember it right now, and I tried to find it before, but Lee may remember it from me. And it was really funny. I'm pretty sure I died like 100 times on the tutorial phase. So that was one of my pieces of feedback, was don't make the tutorial so hard that everyone dies immediately. But it was so fun. And all these games have been so good and so polished every year. Who was the winner from last year again? I was trying to look that up.
You can always go for the main page, then select the year.
As in,
that's here. A little lower, the year's list, and then on the given page, you click winners and
the
have
winners.
The list.
There we go. It's a good way to see it. Best entries. I also love the branding and the graphics. It's just like been so good. Path to Glory. So this is the one who won last year. And let's see if it's... Oh yeah, it's in the web as well. Some of them you have to download, but a majority of them are played. Well, it's very loud music. Let's turn this down. There we go. Got a nice little tutorial here. This is the prologue. Okay, we can skip past things. That's pretty cool. We can look around, so that's pretty good. Oh, we can roll around, and we've got that little sound effects as well. So let's click to strike a jump. Oh yeah, there we go. That's pretty cool. Loving these, like, just the music really gets me every time. And I hold to do a heavy attack. That's pretty. This is another thing. I'm giving you tips and tricks as we're going. Games that are really intuitive. So I'm judging this year again. So as a judge, one of the first things I think about is how intuitive is this game? If I either don't read too much into the tutorial, or as a gamer, are the controls what I would expect them to be? So we've got a heavy attack there, like that was pretty good, like that's pretty intuitive. Skipping around here and do a left click to hold and do a charge attack, like this is all very intuitive here. So yeah, this is pretty good. Oh, we can block attacks as well. This is pretty cool. So this is all, everything I'm feeling right is very intuitive. I'm moving around with the keys I am familiar with. I am using the mouse buttons that would be relatively intuitive and relatively normal for most games. So blocking with the right and shooting with the left, like this is pretty good. So, the Neon Square Resurgent, it was that one. Okay, I'm gonna show you this one. So that was who won last year. And this one.
So there's actually an entry from the same author, or artist, from like few years earlier, which is called Taxi Drift. I don't remember the year, 2015, 16.
Okay, so a little bit further back. Well, Axi as in AX?
Taxi as in driving around the
taxi.
city.
Okay, no taxis
yes.
there. And no taxis there.
Yeah, it was pretty a long time ago.
Let's have a look. We got any taxis in 2016
or 15?
Well, we're going back a while here. There it goes, the taxi drift. Here we go.
Yeah, so it's actually 2015, so it's pretty old. But it was like the guy did Grand Theft Auto 1 in the browser. You could just drive around, pick people.
So I haven't played most of these games because this is like way before me. I'm gonna get rid of this little volume button on you. I haven't played most of these games because what year did I come in? Like 2020 or 2021? I think it was 2020 I came in. So I haven't played any of these older games. But as you're right, like to come in and be able to play, like how many people could say, yes, I'm just going to open up Elder Scrolls Oblivion on my old laptop and just see if it works? No, you probably have to spend like a couple hours configuring everything. Okay, so enter to start and R to toggle rotation. And then what do? We gotta find a customer.
And you use control keys to drive around. Try to get people to get into your taxi and drive them.
Okay, I blew up.
Don't crash into a wall.
The coffin driving taxi game. Right.
Well, I didn't say it's easy.
No, it's also probably we haven't got the WSD keys working. You got to use the actual the arrow keys. Oh, it's probably arrow and then. Okay, yep. So we've got arrow and R. So no mouse with this one. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. And look at this. Whee!
Nice. So you look for people. Try to not run
Whoa,
them
look at that.
over.
I did all right. There's a person?
And they will try to get into your cup, and then you have this little arrow that you have to take them to the destination.
That kind of makes sense. We've got to take it to the destination. Oh, I'm going too slow. Too slow? Dang, what are you talking about, mate? Being too slow? Oh, this is really fun. They've done some great work on the dynamics here. Yeah, and it was like
2015, and it was really, really impressive. And the guy was like, oh, I totally ignored the theme. That year, I just make a fun game. It was the exact same case with Quake, the Quake clone. There was some theme back in that year, but it was totally ignored because, well, you can ignore that. You won't get points for.
This is so good.
Yeah.
This is great.
And there are so many. There are so many games like this on the website. So many gems, so many awesome games.
Yeah,
From every year, you can pick like 10 or 20 or 30 games that are awesome, and you can just play them. So it's really great to have this resource, to have the website listing all the games from all the years, and they actually work. It's just a matter of finding the game and playing it.
So this was a funny one that Lee's popped in the chat. So this Neon Square Resurgence. So this is from 2022. So why is it not popping up? 2022. Oh, it's from the Game Off. Okay, so it's not the Game Jam, but I think it was slightly more than 30. But this is one that I died a million times on. But there's some really, really fun games that we played for the Game Jam last year. So we've got the one who won there, the Knight. What other fun ones from last year are your favorite? Oh, we've got Snakes and Ladders. Oh, that's cool.
So many cool games last year.
Click the dice to roll. Okay, so speaking of last year, what was the theme from last year?
The theme? What was the theme last year?
I can't remember either.
The theme last year was 13th century, obviously. So people are like, what?
Right.
So we actually had 13, like people were reading about all the things that happened in 13th century because of me, I'm sorry. But we did get a lot of more or less historically accurate entries about various things happening around the world, which was really cool. Some folks went for space shooters anyway and tried to sneak in the theme by saying, oh, you traveled back in time to 13th century, did something, and then you traveled into 26th century because now you have space raptors or whatnot. But in theory, it was 13th century. That's why the Path of Glory you played was in that time period. So it was quite specific. So it was pretty difficult. But I wanted to see the reaction of people to this year's theme, the T-Sky Decaphobia, and see, okay, so is this harder or not? But folks seem to like this year's theme, so let's see how it goes. It's not that specific. It's not focusing you on specific period or specific style. I usually try to avoid that, but 13th century sounded like a theme that would fit into js13kGames. We did have, let's say, open and general themes like space or something like that. But given how specific js13k is and how I love to mess with everything, and it starts on the 13th and it ends on the 13th, and it's pretty wild in terms of how it works, what you have to do, I realized that I can also nudge some people with specific themes that wouldn't happen in other jams. I don't expect any other jam to have Three-Sky Decaphobia as a theme or 13th century. So I felt I have this right to mess with people on another level, and this level was the theme.
That's why you
so let's
created
see what happens.
js13kGames, to mess with people.
And folks seem to like it because they still participate, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, no, I love it. And speaking of participating, how many, like we've been going through and scrolling through some of the entries, how many people usually participate? So we can see there's 163 entries from last year, but that doesn't say how many people, because we usually have some people work in teams, right? And submit games.
Yeah, so that's actually quite interesting to see the statistics of how many people know about the event, how many want to participate versus how many submit, because there's this second jam, Game Dev JS jam, which happens on each IO. And from, so there were like 200 something entries in this year's edition. So more or less similar to js13k, but there was 3,000 people who joined on each who were interested, who were either part of the team or considering participating but didn't finish. This might give you an overview of how many people actually submit versus how many participate and try to do something. That's exactly why we have the unfinished category, which is kind of hidden, but it's still there. If you don't finish your entry but still would like to say you tried, it's still possible you can submit that. It won't be judged, but it will land on the website. You can explain why it's unfinished. But in general, there are so many cases of people saying, hey, I tried to participate for a few years, but I didn't submit anything. So given we have 100 something games submitted eventually, I could guess that few hundred people try to participate at least every year and try to build something, either part of the team or solo efforts, but they eventually don't finish. We had a famous case of Notch of Minecraft working on his entry that he didn't finish. The signs are still there on Twitter. Of his screenshots of the entries of the entry he was working on but didn't finish. So yeah, there are multiple people trying to participate. It's not that easy, but it's really rewarding. And even though we do have prizes, I really love how folks try to help each other on Slack, on Discord. It's a competition, you win prizes, but those who participate for many years knows that they need feedback from other people. They can give feedback to those folks. They can exchange ideas, suggest some fixes. So it all boils down to making a good game, which is really great.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. So let's, you mentioned prize. We've also got a question in the chat from Juan, who's if I'm a student or just learning. So he gave a bunch of resources that start on building your game, but also if you're a student, don't forget about the student developer pack. So that's the GitHub student developer pack. That allows you to get a whole bunch of things for free. So if you want to go and use Unity Pro to make your game, you can do that with the GitHub student pack there. So I'll pop that in the link. But everything we spoke about at the start and all the game, the microservices in games, they're all free to use, as we mentioned. So even if you're just starting out, check out that list we linked in, and also look at those templated games that we talked about as well. Now, you mentioned prizes. So let's have a look at some of the prizes for this year. Do you want to walk us through some of these prizes?
So yeah, usually over the years we do have lots of prizes. They usually are software licenses, accounts, different types of things, usually around web game development or game development in general. we do have some game licenses, which usually are games. I specifically pick Steam licenses of games that were built with web technologies. So we try to promote web games when they land on Steam. You can win some licenses from those. So usually 20, 30 different types of prizes are those licenses of software, of games, of whatnot. But this year is kind of special. So every single year we also have different T-shirts. This is the T-shirt from one of the years. We usually have some different
It's
logos.
so small. I can't tell what
Yeah,
it is.
it's pretty small. It's just a miniature because we still don't. We still work on the details. So this year's T-shirt is pretty different because usually the T-shirts have some kind of logo on the front, while this year we went with full print sport T-shirt. So this will have all the tiny 13K logos on it everywhere, which should look fun. And since this is the 13th edition and the special one, I dig up all the gadgets from previous years, because with the T-shirt, we were usually also adding one gadget. So in 2014, those were floppy disks. In 2017, those were like VR cardboards and all the things. So this year I was like, okay, so let's dig up all the swag, all the things, and give them to participants. So if you end up in like top 10, you will get 13 different gadgets, everything from all the years: pins, pens, coasters, keychains, CDs.
The pins are really nice.
Yeah, so that's like I'm giving everything away.
I should have brought mine out so you could see it.
And like medals.
The medals are really cool, especially since we just had the Olympics, so you can win yourself a medal this year.
Yeah, so if you end up high this year, you will get all that in a package with a T-shirt for free, with free shipping, thanks to our partners, GitHub included. So this is a special year. So all the swag happens only this year. So it's unique. Try to participate if you can, because it will all run out this year and it won't repeat ever.
Not coming back again ever.
This was printed in 2015, 16-ish, and it just sits in my closet for that many years. And now I'm getting rid of it. I mean, it's perfect condition.
Perfect edition to get rid of it all. But if you do want previous T-shirts, we've got a question from Lee in the chat too, which is who does your game design T-shirts? So we'll come to that in a second. But if you do want any of the previous shirts, you can go onto js13kGames website and you can look at all the previous years T-shirts as well. So we've got the Bad Lucky T-shirt, the one from 2013, 22, 21, 2020, the year that was, 2019, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, there we go, all the way back to the start here. So you can get all of those T-shirts if you like. You can order them and have them sent straight to you. You can feel like you've been part of all 13 years.
Yeah, and so the all the designs are made by my wife, who's a graphic designer. So how the website looks, the design of the website, that's actually me on the picture.
That's you?
Yeah. So like the website still looks like when it was created in 2012. And so the whole design, the identification, the banners, how everything looks, it's her work. So it's pretty amazing how this evolved over the years, and that she keeps creating those t-shirt designs every single year, and they all look awesome. So yes, as you mentioned, you can actually go and pick a t-shirt from any given year, buy it, and it will be shipped to you.
That looks very cool.
And yeah, that's a lot of clothes.
It is quite a lot. I think you sent me a few of them, so I have definitely been seen in some of these t-shirts on my live streams. So if you want to see some of them, you can. I think this one here I wore on one of my live streams somewhere. There you go. There's one there back then.
Nice.
And also on our, there you go. There's the other 13kGames one as well. So I have rocked a few of them. But we do have another question from Lee in chat, which is, yeah, there's one image of you, but also, is the website less than 13 kilobytes?
Sorry?
Is the website less than 13 kilobytes?
If you remove all the images, I guess it could be. I mean, there aren't that many images there. I guess it's the logo and small banner there. So I guess, yeah, if you compress it well enough, it should fit into 13. Definitely the first prototype, the first version in 2012 definitely fit into 13 kilobytes.
Then we just added more and more images as we go. We can see the Retro Pigeon has said, well, someone could make one and submit it to the game jam. So if anyone does want to do that,
I mean,
why not?
It's pretty fun to see, because the miniatures of the games that you were going through on the list of entries from given years, those are like 30 or 40 kilobytes. So those miniatures are bigger than the games themselves. This is kind of impressive that this 200 something pixels per something, and that's already bigger than the game that you played for 1 hour. So it's really, really impressive if you look at it from this perspective.
Blows my mind. And Lee is now saying that pull requests to make this happen are welcome. He's speaking on your behalf. So let's just jump in.
I mean, this sounds really in the vibe of js13k, because in 2014 we actually crammed all the entries into a floppy disk.
And that's one of the prizes. There.
Yes. So those floppy disks actually have all the entries from 2014. And it was only because not everyone is using the full 13 kilobytes, because maybe you don't need it, and there will be entries with like 10 kilobytes zipped. So because of that, we actually, because the number of entries was like 70 something this year, or no, 100 something. So it was, oh, we're not gonna fit that, but it barely fit. Like, all the entries ended there, and it was we had space for like few more maybe, but all of them fit from that year, which is impressive.
I'm also I would be impressed if someone has a floppy disk reader to actually read those 162 entries that are on that floppy disk.
I guess the more popular use case for the floppy disk would be watching a sun through watching eclipse through it, or using it as a cup holder. Same for CDs. Like in 2018, we had CDs, but who have a CD reader right now? It's like it's a coaster for a beer.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. So we will. Anyone got any last minute questions too? Please pop them in the chat. Before we do finish up, there's all the partners this year. So thanks everyone for jumping in and being part of this. And here are experts for this year. So each year we get a bunch of experts to come in, and we get given categories, and I'll ask you about the categories in a minute too. And so we've got a bunch of judges who come in and judge each of these games as well. So we come in and play them. I usually play them live on stream, and then give my feedback, so you can come and watch me either fail really badly at a game if I'm not very good at it, but also get some tips and tricks and all that. So we've got quite a few there. And then let's have a look at the categories for this year. So what are our categories? They're just under the prize box, actually. Do you want to go through some of these categories? We've got 5 here for this year.
Yeah, so we have the standard one, desktop and mobile. So the desktop is basically the generic one, as long as your game works in a browser on laptop or PC. That's already is qualifying into desktop. We do have mobile, in which an entry have to work on mobile devices, so it's usually touch controlled. There's WebXR category, which runs since 2017, which actually started as an A-frame category because it offered A-frame library for free. So it's outside the overall results. Now it's called WebXR, and there are other engines you can use, which are Babylon, 3JS, Play Canvas. And this year we have the MetaQuest 3 from the MetaQuest Japan team. There's also the decentralized category, which is more blockchain related. Of course, it's entirely optional. If you don't like that, you can absolutely totally ignore it. But if it's something you would like to play with, there are extra categories. There are 4 different challenges from the partners of the decentralized category. Fairly easy to implement as an extra thing on top of your entry. And as I said, there's a total prize pool of $5,000 or something like that. And there's this hidden unfinished category if you would like to submit something that you didn't finish. It's missing some functionalities that are kind of crucial. Maybe it's not even working, but you wanted to show that you did something. There was some interesting concept that you would like to work on afterwards. So you can absolutely and totally submit. Like, I would like to see Notch submit his entry into unfinished. It wasn't there yet back then, but the screenshots he was showing were pretty impressive. So unfinished is there. That entry won't be judged. It's only for the sake of you showing that you worked on something that you maybe want to work afterwards, but want to leave as a way of showing that there was some work done, but it didn't finish for any reason. That's perfectly fine. So yeah, you can pick from those categories and submit your entry to any of them.
I think it's really good to have this unfinished one too, because a lot of people, as you mentioned, have come and joined the game jam over the years and not submitted because they didn't finish. But even having something there is still a good look in for your resume to show that you have worked on something. I mean, things go wrong too. Like, not everyone has the time. Work things pop up, personal things pop up. So if you do start and don't get all the way, do submit in there. And then we have overall category overall winners for these, and then category winners. Or how does the winners work again?
Yeah, so we do have the overall winners. There will be, so the category winners will have separate prizes as well. Mm-hmm. We also do criteria-based rankings. We have top picks from the experts, so there's plenty of ways for an entry to be recognized and awarded. So you should definitely try participating. And the thing is, the top 100 entries, as always, will end up with free t-shirts shipped worldwide, plus some of the swag that is unique for this year. So given there are 150-ish entries, that's fairly easy. I mean, it might sound easy, but even like top 100 entry will be really cool, given how it was in previous years. So it's not that easy, but it's really rewarding. Like, folks are like, I don't care about the prizes, I only want the t-shirt, meaning, hey, I have to be in top 100. So it's fun to see. this tradition of having those t-shirts shipped to folks. Like after, I know that shipping will take time, and then after 2 or 3 months, folks are randomly putting photos of them in the t-shirts, and we have this gallery of selfies with people around the world with that js13k logo in some form here and there, so which is really awesome to see.
And we have a question too in the chat is, do you ship to the ISS? I mean, if somebody submits from the ISS, then I mean,
if they did, I would have to do that. I mean, if someone says they are from Antarctica, I can try. This might take half a year, but it should work.
Oh, hang on, how long did it take to get my swag to me? So you're in Poland, I'm in Australia.
Yeah, from Poland. Well, it will swim on its own, so it will take at least 3 months. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure, so this has been a bit of a running joke between the two of us. So I'm pretty sure last year I received my swag on like the 1st of August or the 13th of August, like pretty much the day the Game Jam opened from the previous year. So this
I did promise you this.
Yay! It looks so good.
I literally have like 2 or 3 extra from the top 13 that will be given this year. So this one is actually yours. I know it will take a lot
to
get to you, but it will eventually. So yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just something about shipping between Poland and Australia, because I've had a few people send me things from Poland, and it always takes so long. We've got people in the chat too say the t-shirts are the best.
Yeah, we have a few different canals where boats like to stack. So.
Oh, we got so people in the chat saying t-shirts are the best. That's really good. Again, if there's any questions you have, please pop them in. What I think we should probably end on is some of the rules for the competition. So we've talked about some tips and tricks and using libraries, but there's a bunch of rules here, and I thought it would be funny if there are 13 rules, but there's not. There's a few more. So if you
had 13. Yeah, we actually had 13 at some point, but then
I had to add more rules.
Privacy policy, and you have to add other things. I'm like, okay, if I have to, then I have to. But about the rules, it's actually, there's a story. So there's one rule, like people were asking, oh, can I use this? Can I use that? Can I use, there was this famous case of like self-extracting PNGs, which could store code. I was like, I don't know. I mean, so let's see that and how it works. So at some point we're like, oh, it would be forbidden because you can pack code into a PNG. And then we tested it, and it's actually compresses worse than a zip. So it made no sense. And I was like, yeah, okay, you can use self-extracting PNGs because this won't give you any benefit. So so there's actually a question like, can I from the first years, can I use WebGL? Can I use other things? And can I build a 3D game? And I was like, yeah, you can, but it's pretty difficult to build a 3D game, full 3D game in WebGL. And so if you were planning an FPS game and then Quick happened, and I just linked to it, I'm like, oh, never mind. You can.
Yeah. I also loved this first one, which is, why is it 13 kilobytes? And it's like, well, why not?
Yeah, I mean, there is a story of why it's exactly 13 kilobyte, which is a longer one, which if you would like, I can tell you about. But like the shorter one is more funny. So.
Yeah, so make sure you do read through these. My question was going to be just call out a couple of them. So there's a few. Make sure you actually go through and have a look at these rules if you are going to submit. And yeah, there's the usual ones about the code of conduct and things like that. So don't forget though, the main thing is that the deadline is the 13th of September. So make sure you please go and check what that date and time is in your time zone.
There's a countdown on the main
and there's a countdown
website.
on the main page.
Yeah.
So there it is right there, 30 days and 3 hours and 45 minutes. So I know that I need to submit this by about 9 p.m. my time. So I just got to check the date because, Australia lives in the future. That is one good thing about us living in the future. We often get a little bit more time. So I can often submit on like the 14th of something. But sometimes, depending on the time zone. But please do make sure
for US, it's usually like 3 a.m. or something like that. So it's like,
yeah. So this is the thing that we say when we talk about please don't leave it to the last minute. And it's usually things like this. People get tripped up by time zone, the file not zipping correctly. You forgot to create your little GIF for the game that gets submitted and on the little submission form. So make sure you do go and do those things. Don't leave it to 12:59 CEST time to submit your game jam. Now, I think you have a Discord, don't you, as well? Is that correct?
Yeah, so historically we have Slack, which was the first, and folks are like, oh, we are staying here. But then there's a Game Dev JS community Discord with js13kGames channel. So some folks are there as well. So you can join either Slack or Discord. If you prefer Discord, we are there. The discussion is happening. The brainstorming from yesterday was pretty wild.
I have
absolutely.
a bazillion Discord channels. Can you drop me the link or let me know where to find it?
Absolutely. So the gamedevjs.com/discord will get you to the Discord
say that one again.
gamedevjs.com.
Gamedev. Oh yes, the JS. The beautiful
/Discord.
JS that runs all the game jams. So let me pull this up for everyone. So here is the fantastic website by these teams. If we jump on here, I think I saw a little. No.
So we actually have a banner on the right. The banner
there you go.
is
So we've
leading
got all our
directly
banners.
to
So
Discord.
we've got to go check out t-shirts, the winners, and we can have a look at join our Discord server. So I am on here somewhere, but I have way too many Discords open. So I will drop that link in there. So
we have the JS13K channel there for discussion specifically about the ongoing JS13K.
Cool. So we can go in here and it is under the community one. So you can have a look there and you can see all the people having conversations there. So yeah, there's a photo of me on there. So thanks for posting that. Alrighty, so if there's no more questions in the chat, this has been so fun launching the game jam. So woohoo, it is officially on. So get excited, everyone. Jump into Discord if you want to brainstorm your topic and get some feedback on it. Remember, don't just dive straight in. Do a little bit of planning around your game that you want to build before you just go in. I think that's the same how it goes whenever you're building anything, right? Whether you're building a new website or a new project, actually have a think about, map out what you want to build, what you want to get out of it, what are the end goals that you want to do. And remember to play your game. So make sure you do give yourself plenty of time before the submission date to play your game, to try it out. And if you enjoy it, chances some other people are going to enjoy it too. So we've got people in here saying, thanks so much. So again, thank you to all our listeners in the chat. This has been great. And if you are watching this after the fact and you're watching the recording, thank you again for watching the recording. We'll drop all the links in as well. And yeah, good luck for the game jam this year, everyone. js13kGames, here we come. I'm so excited.
Woo. Awesome.
All right, any closing words before we jump stream?
Definitely try to participate, even if it sounds difficult or scary, because it's really great experience, and folks participating usually emphasize the fact how helping the community is. So if you have any issues, just ask there and someone will definitely help.
100%. And like I said before, it does look good on your resume, and you learn so much from doing something like this. And if you just want to give it a crack, you've never done something like this before, as we said, there's all those micro games that you can have a look at. There's templates you can look at, and there's a Discord community. People are really happy to come and help you out. So don't be scared if you're even thinking about doing this. Jump in. Like, we're doing this stream now, I'm like, I want to participate, but I kind of can't because I'm a judge, but I have to go participate in another game jam. This has been so fun. I'm so looking forward to all your submissions and playing them. So good luck, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
See you next time.